And to discuss the demands behind today's protest, the concerns raised by demonstrators and what they expect from the federal government, we're now joined in the studio by Juwon Sanyaolu, National Coordinator of the Take It Back movement. Judy, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Now, the movement today, your movement says today's protest is about the worsening socio-economic situation in Nigeria. What message is this movement passing to the government?
Yes, protest had 10 fundamental demands, which borders majorly on insecurity, poverty, and the general shrinking of the democratic space. Some of our demands had included 500,000 naira minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Some of our demands have also included total end to insecurity. Today, more than 200 Nigerians, some of them school kids, are still in kidnappers' den in places like Borno, Kwara, and even Kaduna. You know, we've had repeated violence also in places like Plateau State. Look at the recent tragedy and unfortunate development in Ibadan. So, as the situation is now, the country is completely under siege by insurgents who, interestingly, by various reports, are not unknown to the government, but there is a lack of political will by the Tinubu government to address the problems directly confronting the Nigerian people. We are talking about the issue of shrinking civic space. The government of Tinubu is not interested in policing insecurity, but they want to police free speech.
But
they are policing free speech in Nigeria today. And
yes.
You would also know that today there are also various bills the government is not putting before the National Assembly, you know, bills to tackle poverty in the country, right? They are not put today. NNPC cannot account for over 210 trillion naira. There is no bill before the National Assembly about legislating on workers' wage, but there is a bill before the National Assembly about regulating the social media, regulating freedom of association, right? So this is the degeneracy within the Tinubu government. The Tinubu government is not attacking insecurity. Rather, what had happened in Lagos today is that they are attacking those who are saying to the Tinubu government to end the problem of insecurity in the country. So I think, I think these are some of our demands. And most important, one of the most important parts of our demand is that the Tinubu government should stop the persecution of Omoyele Sowore, right? And every other opposition voices expressing dissent to the neoliberal direction of the government of Bola Tinubu. Criticism is not a crime. Holding opposing views is not a crime. It's not a crime in this country.
You've mentioned a couple of things. You've mentioned that the government does not have political will. You've talked about the reason for the protest is insecurity, poverty, and of course, minimum wage to be increased to 500,000 naira. But the Tinubu administration has maintained that its reforms are necessary and it will deliver long-term benefits. Why do you think that long-term benefit or the reforms are not translating in the Nigerian lives today?
It is also because the reforms itself are neoliberal reforms. So they are meant to, the reforms Tinubu is implementing are reforms of guaranteed poverty, both on the short term and on the long term. Mm-hmm. You understand? The policy of fuel subsidy removal, I mean, some of the major arguments around by the Tinubu government are used to they popularized around the removal of fuel subsidies that they want to the fuel subsidy regime is corrupt. So, but what has happened really is that rather than arresting those who are stealing from the Nigerian people, right? They are punishing the Nigerian people for the crimes of the few and for the crimes of elites who are stealing from the Nigerian coffers. And that shows complicity between both the political class and whoever they have identified as subsidy thieves. What we are saying is that ever since the government of Tinubu supposedly removed subsidy of fuel, which implies that Nigerians now buy fuel for as high as 1,400 naira. Statistics don't lie. Poverty have increased exponentially. And even forget about the big grammar on statistics or on newspaper. The streets also don't lie. People can no longer feed. There is a problem of forced eviction in Lagos State. Rather than building mass houses, they are demolishing houses of poor people, which means that we now have a situation where the Tinubu's reforms have increased homelessness in Nigeria. Tinubu's reform have increased numbers of poor people in this country. Nigerians have become poorer. This is obvious Tinubu's scorecard. And that is why we are saying that Nigerians deserve subsidy. But of course, they know that subsidy is important because the Nigerian elites are getting subsidies. The Nigerian people have been funding the elites for decades. But when it comes to Tinubu and many of these government officials don't pay for their fuel, right? Many of them don't pay house rent. It is the Nigerian people that foot their bill, right? So already Nigerian people are subsidizing them, and we have been subsidizing them for as long as we can remember. But for them, they think that the Nigerian people don't deserve subsidy, and that is the definition of the democracy we are running here. It's a democracy by the rich, democracy of the rich, and democracy for the rich. And we are calling on Nigerians to reject this elite democracy. And what our protest today has been calling for is a total reversal of these elite reforms. And we are demanding that the Nigerian people deserve subsidy. We deserve subsidy on oil, so which means that this policy immediately should be reversed. We are currently. Sorry, let me count this up. We've also seen the Tinubu government saying that they want to hike cost of electricity. This is also on the table. So the implication of this is that when energy cost is driven up, the implication is going to affect even small businesses, right? So what Tinubu's policy is going to do to the Nigerian people is that the long-term objective is to make Nigerians poorer while making himself and his elite richer. And this is what the Take It Back movement against, and this is what the revolution now is about. And I must say, at every part of the country, this is the same message you've been pushing everywhere.
Well, Juwon, what I wanted to ask now is, why do you believe that protests remain the best course of action in terms of, demanding these things? And of course, one of the things that the protests have demanded is to the repeal of the Cybercrime Act and the withdrawal of the charges against Omoyele Sowore. So why do you think that a protest was the fastest way or the best way to go about this situation?
Yes. Let me start by saying that it took over time. It has always taken the protest of the Nigerian people to reverse policies or to demand certain reforms, both in governance and maybe even economic issues. And a simple example was the pro-democracy struggles. Right, it took the protest of the Nigerian people, students, workers, to fight for civil rule. The civil rule we now have now, even though some of the fundamental questions that surrounded those fights have yet to be addressed, even under their so-called democracy, or I don't like to call it democracy, it's a civil rule, right? But even more recently, we've had HENSAS in 2020, where Nigerian people successfully organized to disband a violent police unit, right? And even more recently, it took our organization to even mobilize the police who collaborated with the same police officers who collaborated with talks today to attack our protests. But however, our organization led the police protest in this country that led to the promotion of over 20,000 police officers in this country, right? And there have been numerous successes around how the Nigerian people have been able to achieve results with protests. And this is the reason we are convinced that it will take the power of the Nigerian people both on the streets and on the social media to put pressure on government to reverse some of this anti-people policy. Even currently, the social media is even playing a better role at holding government to account than Akpabio's National Assembly. The Akpabio's National Assembly is a rubber stamp National Assembly, right? But the Nigerian people on the community of Twitter had done more representation for the Nigerian people, even than those who are being funded by taxpayers' money. I think most of them should even resign, because as the situation is now, they are rather than endorsing and fronting the demands of the Nigerian people around the use of wage, the use of free and quality education, they have been endorsing neoliberal policies that only favors the elites in government, the Tinubus of this world and the Akpabios of this world. And most important and lastly, the attack on protesters today, we want to hold this Lagos CP fully accountable. What was displayed today was reckless, and it's an embarrassment, the collaboration between the police and thugs today. And on this, we hold the police commissioner in Lagos accountable, and we are calling for his removal.
Well, Juwon Sanyaolu, want to say thank you so much for joining us today and having this conversation. And we'll see how this pans out. Thank you so much.